Welcome back to Go Gaddis Real Estate Radio. My name is Cleve Gaddis. Easy to say Go Gaddis Real Estate Radio. It wasn't going to come out. I don't know why. My name is Cleve Gaddis. I've been in real estate in Metro Atlanta for 25 years. My family has been in real estate for 38 years. We live, eat, breathe, and sleep real estate. My business partner, Christy Valley, and I both have a long-time family history in real estate. The name of our business is called Modern Traditions, and it's because we believe that we combine traditional values, the values of personal contact and integrity and wonderful service. And I'm not saying other agents don't know how to do that today, but I don't think it's as common today as it was in the past. Hey, in the past, we had to drive contracts to you to sign, and everything had to be done in person. And now it can be such an impersonal process. And we believe we put a modern spin on everything. So at Modern Traditions Real Estate, we believe you get the traditions of the past with a modern spin, using all of the technology that you can to sell your house for more or to help you buy a house for less. If you want to reach out to us, the number is 770-49700. And remember, we're just here to make real estate clear and simple and worry-free. Go to gogaddisradio.com if you have questions or comments or want to push back or share ideas or ask us to do some additional research on your neighborhood and feature it in our neighborhood spotlight. Let's see, in today's show, we actually have Brookmere and Brookmere West in Mableton, focusing on something northwest of town. Love that. I'm looking forward to that segment coming up real soon. Also, if you want to subscribe to our podcast, you can actually do it at gogaddisradio.com as well. We're going to break down at this point, or I'm going to try to break down the biggest housing headlines that are really shaping your world and my world. When competition gets bought out, this is the Zillow Redfin lawsuit. Today's story: 5 states have hit Zillow and Redfin with a major antitrust lawsuit. The allegation: a $100 million deal that, according to regulators, wasn't about helping renters, but about wiping out the competition. Now, as I learned more about this, I started thinking, man, this is sneaky. And this is not about helping consumers. And this is not me saying, don't do business with Zillow, don't do business with Redfin. That's not me saying this. This is me saying, shame on you, Zillow, shame on you, Redfin. The attorneys general from Virginia, Arizona, Connecticut, New York, and Washington State filed a joint lawsuit accusing Zillow and Redfin of making what they call an illegal agreement to divide up the online rental listings market. So if you are a landlord or you are a tenant, you need to be listening to this. The core claim: Zillow allegedly paid Redfin roughly $100 million to stop competing in the rental advertising business for 9 years. Let me say that one more time. Zillow allegedly paid Redfin roughly $100 million to stop competing in the rental advertising business for 9 years. In plain English, the states say Zillow paid Redfin to bow out, thus leaving Zillow as the dominant player in online rental ads. They argue that kind of you step aside, we'll pay you arrangement violates antitrust law, specifically the rules designed to keep the markets competitive and to protect consumers. Now, what Zillow and Redfin have to say is a little different. They say that the story isn't nearly that sinister. Zillow's statements insist that this was a standard syndication agreement. Basically, in their words, a way to make sure rental listings appear across multiple platforms more efficiently. They say it's good for landlords, good for renters, and part of what every other tech company does. Redfin echoes that. Redfin was just acquired by Rocket Mortgage over the last 6 months. They say their rental ad business was never their main focus. They wanted to concentrate on buying, selling, and mortgage tools. But here's where the states push back. Redfin agreed not to operate any rental ad platform for nearly a decade. Not even if the market changed. That's what regulators call a non-compete, and a 9-year one in a market that is really important to consumers. That's the kind of deal that antitrust lawyers love to challenge. And so here's the big picture, and here's, in my opinion, why it matters. If you, the renter or the landlord or the homeowner, is scrolling through listings on your phone. And the reason I think it changes things is because fewer competitors means fewer choices. And that often means higher prices, less innovation, less transparency. I mean, think about it. If Zillow becomes the only big name in town for rental ads, then property managers may have to pay whatever Zillow charges to list units. At one point, they listed homes for rent for free. Now they make a lot of money doing that, and the cost often trickle down to you. And you guessed it, who I'm saying is you, is the renter, is the tenant. Landlord gets the additional cost. It gets passed down to the tenant, and it increases the overall cost of purchasing. You got a lot of legal heat and FTC involvement in this as well. The lawsuit isn't happening in isolation. The federal, easy for me to say, the Federal Trade Commission, the feds have already filed their own complaint against Zillow and Redfin, calling the agreement an illegal effort to suppress competition in rental listings. FTC Chair Lena Khan didn't mince words. She said, "This is the kind of deal that shows how dominant tech platforms use money to buy off threats rather than compete on merit." Wow. If the FTC and these 5 states succeed, they could force the companies to unwind the deal. They could force them to pay penalties. They could even reconstruct future partnerships. So we're not really talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking about a potential overhaul of how real estate tech operators operate. The counterpoint, to be fair, both Zillow and Redfin argue that the regulators are misinterpreting what's really a marketing partnership. They claim the deal expanded access to listings and simplified the process for consumers. Redfin says their rental ad business was losing money, so exiting wasn't about collusion. It was about good business. Zillow says they paid fair value for access to Redfin's data and listings, and they insist, "We didn't buy silence, we bought distribution." Isn't it interesting in today's world how you can have one situation, 2 totally opposing viewpoints, and you listen to them and you think, man, both of those could be right. I don't know if you've noticed this. That's the way it happens in politics as well. Everybody's got a story, and we just don't know who to believe. But in this case, that's the fine line that regulators are testing. When does a business partnership cross into anti-competitive territory? So here's what happens next. Here's what to watch for, in my opinion. The state's lawsuit is now moving through federal court alongside the FTC's case. The companies will likely file motions to dismiss, arguing no consumer harm has been proven. If it proceeds, we could see months, maybe years of discovery and emails and testimony and internal documents revealing how this deal was negotiated. And let's be honest, those details often are what tell the real story. If there are emails that show Zillow executives saying, "Let's pay Redfin to stay off our turf," that's bad news for them. But if it shows legitimate data sharing and mutual benefit for consumers, then they may walk away vindicated. You never know. The market's reaction, what happened? Investors are paying attention. Zillow's stock dipped after news broke, while Redfin's shares have been volatile lately. Analysts say the lawsuit adds uncertainty at a time when both companies are already struggling with a sluggish housing market. Fewer transactions. As few transactions as we had in 1995 is what we'll have in the United States today, even though we have 70 million more people in the United States than in 1995. And we're also facing tight rental inventories. Even if the companies win the case, the legal cost and PR fallout could be significant. No company wants, in my opinion, antitrust lawsuit on its front page for months. And you have broader implications. If you zoom out, this could set a precedent. If regulators could prove a tech platform deal like this violates antitrust law, it could impact other industries too. Travel, booking, food, delivery, even AI partnerships. It's really the same question popping up again and again. When big digital players strike exclusive deals, are they innovating or are they eliminating competition? That's why this Zillow Redfin case might be a test for how regulators define competition in that platform, in the platform era. And there is going to be a lot more discussion because when you think about it, Zillow has free access to real estate brokers' listings that they use to advertise their listings, get a lead, sell the lead back to an agent to close the deal at a 40% commission. So Zillow says, let me take your tool, your resource, let me use it to advertise to attract consumers. And I'm not saying they don't do any good, because Zillow does provide wide access to listings. And then they sell the leads back to the people who provided the listings in the first place. If Zillow loses this case, what does that mean for renters and landlords in the short term? Well, if Zillow and Redfin are forced to unwind the deal, you might start seeing more diverse rental listings again. Different platforms carrying different inventory. It could also mean better price comparisons, more exposure for landlords, and maybe even some relief on listing fees. In short, more competition tends to benefit everyone except the monopoly. If we wrap up in reflection, at the end of the day, this lawsuit isn't just about Zillow and Redfin. It's about the future of digital housing. Do we want a handful of giants controlling how rental information flows, or do we want an open marketplace where innovation drives better service and fairer prices? Because as housing moves more and more online, whoever controls the listings controls the leverage. In closing, we're going to keep an eye on the courtroom battles ahead, and we'll bring you the updates as they unfold. For now, remember, competition keeps markets honest, and transparency, in my opinion, is what keeps consumers empowered, and it's not something that I think we should play with. If you are looking to buy or sell anywhere north, south, east, or west in Metro Atlanta, I invite you to reach out to Modern Traditions Realty Group. You can do it one of two ways. Go to gogaddisradio.com, GOGADDIS radio.com, or just do the old-fashioned way and call 770-497-0000. We're going to take a break. When we come back in our neighborhood spotlight, Brookmere and Brookmere West in Mableton will be featured. And don't forget to sell your community. We're focusing on that because agents shouldn't be just selling homes. They should be selling lifestyles. And good news, we're turning back time this weekend, and no DeLorean required. Stick with us. We'll be back.